Good morning to you. For Telesur, I'm Regan Devines in Caracas, Venezuela. Thank you so much for joining us. Our top story today takes us to Bolivia, where tensions with Chile continue to run high. Bolivian President Evo Morales is seeking the expulsion of Chilean consul Milenko Skoknik. He accuses him of plotting with the Bolivian opposition to destabilize his government. There does seem to be a breakthrough, though, as Chile called on Bolivia to settle the access to sea dispute at the International Court of The Hague. The Bolivian Minister of Government, Carlos Romero, has embraced Chile's proposal.
We welcome the statement by Heraldo Muñoz, in which he said, "We'll see you at The Hague." That has been our intention from the outset. We want to meet at The Hague, and we want the International Court at The Hague to find a resolution on the international law and the historical and sovereign right to free access to the sea for the Bolivian people.
New developments now coming out of Mexico. One of the three suspects in the killing of photojournalist Ruben Espinosa, activist Nadia Vera, and three other women has been detained. Authorities there have assured that the fingerprints of the man in custody are a match with some fingerprints found at the scene of the crime. Officials said the man was being questioned in connection with the killings, but gave no further details. The 5 victims in this high-profile case were tortured and executed with a shot to the head. Police in Veracruz are angered and are certain that the state government of Javier Duarte is responsible for the victims' deaths.
They are looking for scapegoats to deflect attention in the case. It's obvious, at least to civil society, that it's following the case, that it's the state that is perpetrating these murders, this disappearance. We know it was Veracruz Governor Duarte. We know the story of what Ruben and Nadia were going through. In other words, these statements they are giving about a suspect being detained are absurd. What he's saying makes no sense.
We continue now in Mexico with our correspondent Clayton Khan. He tells us of the reactions that continue to surface in the country due to the killing of Espinosa and the 4 women.
They demand justice for the multiple homicide that left the critical photojournalist Ruben Espinosa tortured and shot, protesting here in front of the Veracruz state offices in the capital, accusing ultimately state authorities as being the intellectual authors behind the murders, yet they say it is important to focus on all the 5 victims.
It was not just a crime against a journalist. They also committed 4 femicides, and above all, a form to punish an activist and critical journalist.
Although one of the primary lines of investigation by the authorities has been a motive of basic house robbery, Nadia Vera, activist and one of the 5 homicide victims who fled the state of Veracruz a year ago due to political repression, points to other potential culprits.
We hold totally responsible Javier Duarte Ochoa, governor of Veracruz, and his cabinet for anything that may happen to us, of those of us who are involved in organized movements.
Meanwhile, Mexico City's investigators now affirm that after 5 days of the investigation and analyzing forensic evidence, that a Mexican male with a previous criminal record has been arrested in relation to the multiple homicide. However, the authorities declined to disclose his identity.
The police of this capital's prosecutor's office located the suspect and is now being presented before the prosecutor's office.
Yet activists and enraged citizens continue to hold various protests in the capital and elsewhere, declaring that beyond the specifics of the case, the nature and profile of the murders reflect deeper and wider problems in how the Mexican state tackles justice and impunity.
Today, it doesn't matter the status. It doesn't matter. Today, the blood continues to be spilled because they want to remain on their pedestal always. And if someone wants to move that pedestal, it's like signing a death sentence.
The apartment building where the 5 victims were murdered has now become a shrine and center of protest, what some here say is a symbol of Mexico's intolerance to the freedom of speech and protest. Clayton Khan, Telesur, Mexico City.
Now, Telesur has been following the developments on the escape of Mexican drug lord Joaquin El Chapo Guzman from prison. Now, many sources have surmised that the Sinaloa cartel leader was in Sinaloa in a mountainous region he controlled immediately after his July 11th escape. And the DEA just may agree with this theory. Acting head of the Drug Enforcement Administration, Jack Rosenberg, told reporters that his educated guess is that El Chapo is more than likely in the northwestern region of Sinaloa, where he feels safest and most protected. On July 11th, Guzman escaped through a mile-long tunnel in conditions that have exposed high-level complicity by Mexican prison authorities. The U.S. government this week announced a $5 million reward for any information leading to El Chapo's capture. To Colombia now, where the peace talks aimed at ending a 50-year conflict that has left hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of people dead or displaced, has been widened to include another guerrilla force. Government officials have confirmed that beginning in September, the second largest rebel force, the National Liberation Army, known as the ELN, will be included in the dialogue. The talks will take place in Ecuador. The peace talks with the FARC have been taking place in Cuba since late 2012. And in the next few hours, the trial in Argentina against former President Carlos Menem and 11 other officials is set to begin. Menem and the other officials are facing charges of conspiring to derail investigations into the deadly 1994 attack on a Jewish community building in Buenos Aires. Relatives of the victims have accused authorities of knowing the attack was going to take place and did nothing to prevent it. 85 people died in the attack. 21 years later, Menem is also charged with obstruction of justice and the destruction of evidence in the case.
Only when political will at the highest level made the decision that this should come to light and that all truth be known, did the discovery of a false solution to the case come out, because, from my understanding, it encompasses what is going to be present at the trial.
We end this block in Washington, where the Inter-American Commission for Human Rights has accused the United States of violating human rights and international law at the Guantanamo Bay prison. The human rights body of the UAS, the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights, also called the U.S. government to shut down the facility. The IACHR released a 142-page report on Guantanamo. In it, they accused the United States of discrimination against Muslims. 116 alleged terrorists are still being held in Guantanamo. The report says that less than 8% of prisoners ever detained there were actually Al-Qaeda members. And now a brief of other major breaking stories from across the globe.
A boat with about 600 migrants capsized in the Mediterranean. About 400 were rescued alive. The Italian Coast Guard said 25 bodies have been recovered, but they said it is unclear how many people were still missing. Official figures show that about 2,000 migrants have died in the Mediterranean this year.
It was a fishing boat. It was packed by survivors' accounts with about 600 people. These are boats that should only have about 30 or 40 or 50 on board, not 600.
The U.S. President Barack Obama warned of the pitfalls of blocking the Iran nuclear deal. He said that rejecting the deal reached on July 14 between Iran and the six world powers would lead to another war in the Middle East. Obama said that blocking the deal would only make Iran more capable of building a nuclear weapon. Congress is expected to vote on the agreement next month. The official inauguration of the Suez Canal is to take place any time now. Egyptians began celebrations a day earlier as they feel proud of a project the people financed, expecting it will lead to economic growth and development. In August 2014, the Egyptians went to the bank to lend their financial support to the $8 billion expansion of the Suez Canal. Those who deposit their money received 5-year bonds with 12% annual interest to cover the cost of the new Suez Channel. Malaysian authorities confirmed that a piece of wing segment discovered in the Indian Ocean island of Reunion belonged to the missing flight MH370. But the Australian Deputy Prime Minister Warren Truss cast doubt on whether the debris actually belongs to the Malaysian plane that mysteriously disappeared 16 months ago. He said more analyses were taking place in France, and also experts were looking at a piece of luggage found in the same island. Arab foreign ministers met at the Arab League headquarters in Cairo to discuss Palestine's hopes for peace. The Egyptian Foreign Minister Sameh Shoukry said the cause of Palestine will remain the most important cause for Egypt. Palestine President Mahmoud Abbas was in the meeting. He said now is more important than ever to establish peace in the region, and he accused Israel of continuing with their arbitrary settlements policies. Arab officials announced they would be meeting in the next hours.
Of course, thank you to our correspondents in Quito for putting together that report. And our final story for you on this Thursday morning. The Cuban athlete Daron Robles is currently in London on a mission to become the first man in about 30 years to successfully defend his record in the 110 meters hurdles. His main rival is Chinese superstar Liu Xiang. Robles beat Xiang once, but was later stripped of the victory due to the judge's ruling that he made contact twice with Liu's arm during the final as he began to fade. Robles was then disqualified. Now, he said that despite a lower back injury that he's dealing with, he is well prepared to win this time.
Right now I feel pretty good. I have progressed a lot. As you know, I've been off the track for a bit due to injury, and I haven't been on top form this season. But I have improved my training a lot, and let's hope that everything ends well on the track.
For more on these and other up-to-the-minute stories and reports, please join us on our website, telesurtv.net/English. For Telesur English, I'm Regan Devine. Have a great and productive day.